Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
The good brother, my brother.
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike, what's up, my brother?
What's up, man?
Good morning,
Peaceful
man.
love.
Peace.
Peaceful love.
What's up, brother?
Envy,
Good
Angela.
morning.
How y'all doing? My favorite people.
Man, let me tell you something. I love you, Killer Mike, man.
I love you back, brother.
Nothing makes me feel better than to see you out here shining.
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 Yeah, I have like 5 pounds of gold on my neck.
So you got your Cripple Cola with you?
Yeah, I brought Cripple Cola. Look,
Okay.
Just because, I did it. All right, so people who don't know, I did a TV show, right? So I'm more than just an underground rapper who rose to the top.
Trigger warning on Netflix.
Trigger warning on Netflix. And part of my thing has always been I've seen white gangs be able to legitimize themselves.
The Hells Angels in particular.
I'm a Hells Angels fan, right? Even
Okay.
they don't want to let black people in fine and school. Keep it all white club because you guys are gnarly. But I'm a fan of them being able to not only secure license, essentially being a multi-club social club, because white people do shit great in America. They figure out a way to make a rule and they do it. And then what they did was they're able to sell merchandise and they're able to legitimize and say, well, 1% of us are outlaw bikers.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 99% of us, we're just dentists that ride on the weekend.
Yeah.
And even if that's not true, that's a perception. So for me, I've known gang members since I was in the 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
I began in my organizing career right along the side of Crips and Gangster Disciples. I've seen them do a lot of good in the community to reverse some of the bad they did. And I've seen them essentially be guys who stood around like street fraternities. They smoked joints, they hung in front of stores, did lightweight trapping. But most guys went on to become normal, regular guys.
and
right?
rappers, too, because we know a lot of rappers.
Lot of
are
shouts out to Cuz
gang-affiliated.
Lightyear. Amazing
Yeah.
Crip, amazing rapper, amazing songwriter, right?
Snoop Dogg.
Just Big Snoop.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? You gotta, man. My man's out in California, Glasses Malone, who's one of the
G.
dopest
Malone.
lyricists ever.
G.
You know what I'm
Malone.
saying?
My partner.
But I wanted to show the humanity in these people. So I'm like, all right, how do I help the homies? And I took 4 homies from Atlanta, Noonie, Yayo, Murdo, and who else? AC. And we taught them that you can have a business, or we convinced them into starting a business. So them and some of the older homies from their neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, went into this venture. It's Cripple Cola. Because soda kills more people than anybody. You know what I mean? I can't even drink sodas anymore. I love soda. I'm here drinking water today, right?
That's why I was wondering why soda then.
Because soda's a killer and you love it. Every Christmas you turn on cola commercials, you give your grandma a soda, and you never, ever, ever question.
$1 billion business.
That was very interesting what you said on Trigger Warning. You said soda has killed more
Black people.
than the Bloods or the
Other
Crips.
Crips, yeah, and we love soda. You know
And
what I
even
mean?
talking about how Coca-Cola was started with cocaine in it.
Well, yeah, and not to pick on Coke, because Coke
Right.
provides lots of jobs in my community. I just want to say thank you, Coca-Cola. My grandmother bought me stock at 5. Thank you, But with that said, it was started by a Confederate soldier. And it once had cocaine, and we never revisit that. So we sat with a brand, Sean, brother named Sean, who had helped brands grow with Coca-Cola and other brands. And he just told the brothers, hey, man, what's happened has happened. You guys got to take where you are now and move forward. And because of that, I'm sitting here wearing a Cripple Cola shirt, offering you guys some Cripple Cola this morning. Because
Okay.
I like, whether this lasts short term or long term, I like to see in the marketplace something to stand outside of illegality, and I like to see brothers grow themselves.
So is it really in stores?
No, it's coming to stores right now.
Okay.
Right now, you're going to be able to go over and get like merchandise and this online. But yeah, it's coming to stores.
I learned so much from that episode. Number one, I never knew.
Hold
that-
on, let me take this heavy ass shit off.
Okay. Let's do that.
Ah, shit.
You try-
See, that's just so you young niggas know I ain't fucked up. Now that my old man ego is out the way.
we know you got it.
Shit.
That
Jesus
sounded hell. You
Christ,
almost broke
man.
the table.
But number one, I never knew the history of the Hells Angels.
Okay.
I didn't know that they were outlaws and all of that type of stuff.
Shouts out to Sonny.
Oh.
Sonny, I think it's Behringer, one of the
And
stars
number,
with Genius, man.
and number two, I thought about the Crips. I was like, was there any flack from the OG Crips in L.A. about you using Crips from Atlanta to launch a product under the Crip banner?
Well, I mean, I went and shook the right hands and, let people know. But, my thing is, I'm not trying to hijack your organization. I'm trying to interject. I've known you my whole life. So I'm simply trying to interject a what if and a possibility that provides a pathway to legitimacy if possible. Right now in L.A., you don't hear about their 2 brothers. I forget their names, but one's a Blood and one's a Crip. And they started a food delivery service together.
Yeah, they
Well, they
came
could-
up here, right?
Oh, Trap Kitchen.
Yeah, Trap
Did they
Kitchen,
come up here?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish to hear more of those stories because there are more of those stories. In Atlanta,
They put
they're
out a
blood-
cookbook, too.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did,
they're
yeah.
Bloods and Crips. Like, rest in peace, the Troop. One of the Troop's best friend was a Blood. And those brothers managed to keep a stalemate and a peace in our city that hasn't been seen in some cities where, because if you listen to Ice Cube, you hear how Crippin' and Blood, you know, My Summer Vacation, the song literally tells you how Crips and Bloods land in middle America, Northeast, South, and everything is potentially there for them to legitimize themselves and to have something. So, you know, if the older homies, besides the ones I've talked to, say, hey, man, we don't like it, then, you know, cool. You know
Why a soda company? Because, I mean, you know, I own a soda company, and soda is very difficult. It's $1 billion business, but it's very hard to get through when Coca-Cola, Pepsi, CNC Cola, like, it's very difficult. So why soda? Or they
already have a brand and a network. The Crips have built a brand over the last 50 years that's infallible. You know, kids know, like when Lil Wayne is hot, Levi's pop up and they have a red bandana in the right pocket. Right. It's all of a sudden a little red bandana patch. You be like, oh, that's a coincidence. And then when Snoop is hot, the same Levi's company puts out a blue bandana on the left side. That is gratuitously catering toward gamers. That means you have built your brand for 50 years, and white men who sit behind desks and corporations are wise enough to say, well, let's use this. Right. When are you going to take advantage of what you have built?
Absolutely.
And again, all I'm doing is interjecting the option and the possibility. It's up for you to decide, are we going to become the Yakuza and legitimize ourselves, or are we going to become the mafia and actually profit and legitimize ourselves? Because, you know, people think, oh, the mafia, they were killing people. But they also own sanitation companies. They also had contracts with the city. They also put windows in it. So we have a choice. As black people, we've been free 55 years. You've built this brand. And, you know, one of my older brothers, man, Big U, man. God bless Big U, man. This brother sat me down. He said, Mike, you know, in a number of years, man, Crippin can essentially, he told one of our other homies, this could become a religion of sorts because it's so many kids are into it. And it really hit me when he told him and the big homie Bear from Atlanta, it was like kids have put these fraternities together, and just like a child, they have the infinite potential to do this or this with it. You have built a brand for the last 50 years, fellas. This is what I tell Crips and Bloods, Disciples, Vice Lord. You have built something in which it's a network and it's a marketability that's there. All you have to do is inject legitimacy there, and you radically change the fabric of your community.
Right. And then that episode in particular was very interesting because it's all about branding and marketing and them going in and discussing like even how the Crips were started. You know,
community revolution in progress.
Exactly. And to see how these people reacted. Right, these corporate people, these executives that can look at things like you showed Andrew Jackson on the dollar bill.
Yes, absolutely.
And then
on the $20 bill.
Yeah, the $20 bill, and to show that and talk about what it is that he did.
Well, that
and
was
why
significant.
We celebrating.
Well, what did he do?
Right.
What did he do?
He was a slave owner.
No, Jackson was beyond a slave owner. He was president, but he is the president that put a bounty on Native American heads.
And scalp them.
And since it was easier to scalp them than it was to bring in the whole head of the body, the term scalping. Actually, you have some Native Americans won't even carry a $20 bill. You celebrate criminals. We love criminals in America.
America was built on criminal.
I love a great criminal flick. Y'all, man, give me one. But we don't.
A great white criminal.
Oh, man, we love, come on, tell me, Sonny Berringer, Scarface Al Capone, you know, Whitey Ford. But when it comes to us, we shun it, we get shy. And I'm just saying simply take advantage. A banker told me about a month ago, Michael, the numbers man and the bootlegger were as important to the black community as the decent store owner and the farmer. Because all the money, once it went to the bank, went to lending and went to helping people mortgage. You know, if it weren't for some of the numbers mans and the bootleggers, you wouldn't have had some civil rights marches because that extra few $100,000, $1,000 that was needed wasn't coming from legitimate black folk who was okay. You know, so I'm just saying we don't have to celebrate crime, but you have to understand that every other culture will tell you a story of their grandfather when you first, my grandfather's an immigrant.
Yeah.
Did things, but he made sure we were okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That give you, it sounds all exciting. Right. But you talk about your cousin, oh, man, nigga went to jail again. That nigga trying to make sure we was okay. You know, so for me, I'm just saying, by any means necessary truly means by any means necessary.
Why don't we support each other more? You know, Charlamagne and I was talking behind the scenes earlier, and it was like without people sometimes it's almost difficult to show them something because right away they're like, nah, that doesn't work, or nah, I can't do that, or nah, that's not going to happen. And I feel like that's a problem in our community.
I don't think that's a problem. I see more people cooperating and working together and attempting to. I think that's the narrative that gets told and that kind of keeps us separate. But you come to places like Atlanta, New York, man, I see us working together. I see us trying our very best. What I would like to get rid of is the perception that we don't do a good job. Because when other things and other places and other people treat us bad, we make noise about it. if corrected, we forgive, and sometimes not even if not corrected, we forgive, and we continue to support. I would like us to do the same thing with one another.
Right.
I would like us to be more forgiving with one another. I would like for us to understand that it's just not about us. Some days my waitress might have had a bad day, but that doesn't give me a reason never to go back to that restaurant. You know what I mean? My brother who sold me the car, he got me for an extra $1,000. I'm gonna sit down and tell him, hey, bro, you got me for the couch. But I'm gonna come back to you, but you got to show love. So I don't follow the narrative that we don't, because we do. We sit in this room together doing it.
Yeah, and I think we got to stop looking at each other as a monolith. Like, some of us may work together, and like anybody else, we're going to have some resistance from some of our own.
Yeah.
But for the most part, yeah, we can pretty much work together.
Yeah, we do, and we do a grand job of it, and we should congratulate ourselves for that, and we should congratulate one another. You have congratulated me my whole career, me and T.I. in particular, and I've done the same thing with you. I've cheered you on every step of the way, and for me, that's what you need more of. You need more of that. More of the, people cheerleading for you. Ninth Wonder called us when we got nominated for the Grammy last year, Elle and I. And he said, hey, man, I'm in here trying to fight and fuss to make sure you at least get acknowledged, you know what I mean, to push. And he wasn't necessarily saying that I can make it happen for you, but he was just saying, if my vote counts, brother, then I'm going to be pushing you. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's why inclusion is. That's why inclusion is important in certain situations. Because Knife is on the Grammy committee, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so if Knife's not in there, who's going to speak up for Killer Mike and Run the Jewels? You know?
Exactly.
Now, you also, in the first episode that I saw, was trying to do only support Black-owned businesses
for 3 days.
Period, for 3 days.
Yeah.
That was a difficult task. We saw you riding a bike.
Yeah, I know, right? I bought a better bike. Man. I have a better bike now.
I said that episode hurt my heart.
Man, it hurt me too. It hurt my ass, my legs, my heart.
Did you realize that it was so hard to support your own? Like, when you attempted to do that, did you realize it was going to be that difficult?
Because it's not just going to a Black-owned restaurant, but where do they get their products
food from? Yeah, like my grandparents raised me, my grandfather, my grandmother. Shouts out to Betty and Willie. My grandmother's family owned a farm. So let me give you guys who might not get the frame of reference. If you look at The Color Purple, you'll notice that there's not many white people in that movie. And you'll notice that the Black people weren't suffering, weren't dirty, weren't hurt. They were landowners. So they had affluence within their community, and they had influence within their community, right? My grandmother grew up like that. Her mother and father were landowners. So they grew food, they sold it to the market. So my grandmother and them were able to be educated. They went to school, became nurses. My grandfather was a sharecropper in the purest sense, worked at a cotton mill, ended up having to drop out of school in 3rd grade. So my grandfather was a fiercely independent man. He was not about being dependent on a bigger community. He was not about being dependent on his community as much as himself. So he could grow his own food, he could hunt and fish. He instilled those things in me, and he instilled in me a pride in buying and supporting Black people, because essentially that meant buying and supporting local people. We bought our vegetables off a truck. Our chickens either came from a market we knew, or a butcher we knew, or people we knew who had them in there.
Chase them down your goddamn self, pop your neck with your grandma.
Exactly, right there. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I thought it would be easy, because as I've grown up, the gas station we went to was owned by Miss Barbara, who was a Black woman. The butcher's milk. But I didn't realize as I've gotten older, all these things are closed. And no one has stepped back up to take the place of these things. So we have these vacuums and these deserts in our community, not just because big corporations won't become there, because we aren't supporting the small business owner like we should. So when I'm saying support Black business, I'm telling you to support small business, support local business. And I didn't think it'd be hard, and it was incredibly difficult. And that's in Atlanta, where I could find a Black bus company, but I can't find a Black grocery store that has everything. Shouts out to our, your grocery store on Simpson, Nation of Islam owns it. But we're just not in a good place. We got jewelry, we're wearing nice shades and stuff, we're buying nice cars, but we're not in the place we could be, because we're not plugging enough of the things we could be plugging to actually create and sustain a merchant class. And what I mean by that is, working with Black banks, what I've come to realize is some of the larger banks won't give any small business loans, right? So the East Indians or the Arab brothers that own the stores in your community, those loans are coming from the Black banks that you don't bank with. Those Black banks are willing to risk and give those people loans because they come prepared. They have a proven track record. When you go on a Citco and then another Citco, it's easy to get the loan. So we need to start engaging and doing business with our banks and doing business with one another, and essentially become the class that pushes that class out. Now, that's not against anybody. That's not down on anybody. That's just saying in matters of economics, you have to say, okay, you've owned this store 20 years. We're going to buy it. and we're going to buy it at this price, and you can bump up and become a distributor, or you become our competitor, and we shift the community to only shop us, and we undercut you and get your store out of business and buy it at a cheaper price anyway. That's just business.
Right.
Do you I've been thinking about this, and I guess it ties in everything you're saying. Do you think desegregation was good or bad for black people?
My grandfather thought it was incredibly bad for black people.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me 2 prime examples. He was like, the black community was richer because on Sundays, it was baseball time, and they had a Negro Barn League, and the Negro Leagues would come through, and they spend 3-4 hours in the community. People come out and cook. Money got spent. But integrating into Major League Baseball, it took a pool of money that once was in Negro League Baseball to Major League Baseball, right? It's nothing wrong with the players going, but in 100 years or so, almost 100 years we've integrated, we don't have ownership.
Yes.
We don't run our front offices like you would expect us to. But as athletes, they went and found a whole other genetic pool in the Caribbean that's just like us and play cheaper. You know what I'm saying? So for my grandfather helped me understand that, but prior to desegregation, there was a black bus company in Alabama too. You get what I'm saying? So I'm not saying desegregation was bad. I'm just saying if all we get to do is shop at Gucci and buy cars from Rolls Royce, then maybe we need to rethink what you're doing with desegregation. Now that you've desegregated, because during segregation, you owned businesses that other communities had to come to and support.
Yeah.
So people had to go to Harlem to party. People had to go to Harlem for a seamstress. They had to go to Harlem for products and goods. Now everything goes out. And because you do that, your community is stronger. You only keep, and I'm talking to black people now, you only keep $1 in your community 6 hours. If you're only keeping $1 in your community 6 hours, you are losing, right? Envy's a great DJ. I love his gold jewelry and his fancy cars. Beautiful family man. But I follow Envy in particular because of his real estate investment, because I want to learn how to better do that. I follow DJ Vlad because he's interesting, he's funny, he says wild things, but I follow him for his stocks. I followed him right into buying my wife thousands of dollars of stocks for Christmas. She told me don't tell anybody that anymore, so I told. I just want brothers to understand that the potential for us to do better is infinite. And we don't have to just look at one another wearing jewelry on television and admire and begin to envy and not like each other. We can start to have things. But you have to do what my man, Mr. John, told me. He said, Mike, one day somebody's going to come. We own a barbershop on Edgewood Avenue. He says, one day somebody's going to come along and they're going to say, white folks stole all this from y'all. And he said, that's not true. The black people who own this, their children never came back to run the stores because they thought they were too good and they sold the buildings cheap. And, man, that hurt me. You know what I mean? Because we did. We abandoned our own community to move to Roswell, to move to Alpharetta. We abandoned our own community for bigger houses and a longer drive. And we need to reinvest in our community. I heard Roxanne Shante talk about reentry. When you leave your community as a rapper, you should be leaving owning 2 pieces of property. You should be leaving owning at least a multi-unit property to rent. You should at least be owning, you bought out your mom's or your auntie's house for something. But you can't keep just leaving the community and then flexing and flossing on the community, because that creates resentment and hatred for you. It doesn't reinvest in the community to grow the new you, and it get on people who talk smack about us something to say.
But you know what it is knowledge too. A lot of us don't have the knowledge, and with me doing the real estate more and more and more, I'm pulling so many people from the industry and teaching them because they have no clue. Like I had no clue.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we need to do as people is teach that knowledge.
Give some game.
And I've been doing it with a lot of people in the industry behind the scenes, and I've been doing it with a lot of people that are listeners, where you try to teach them how to invest and
you and I
what
talk.
to do. And even me and you. But that's my goal. Like, I love cars, I love jewelry, I love all that shit. I'm gonna continue to buy it. But I also have been like when I go to Atlanta this weekend, I'm not only going to DJ, I'm going to look at properties. I'm going to look at multi-unit properties.
Absolutely.
And I told you I'm gonna call you because you got to show me something. But
absolutely.
That's what I'm about, and I think that's what we need to do more as a community.
Absolutely. My wife, smartest thing I did, man, was marrying a woman I married. Because my woman grew up
a black woman.
I married a black woman. A lot of my critics did not. My oh yeah, don't play. My wife from the housing projects in Savannah, Georgia. Yamacraw Housing Projects, very beautiful girl, fine as all outdoors. Probably was dating 4 dope boys when she met me, but she had faith that you can do it. You know what I mean? And it's something about her. Like I still remember, I spent like $500,000 this year, right? I still remember wanting that Dodge Demon, just like, man, it's 150 bands. I'd say 150 bands. I'm finna be the first nigga in the city with. I'm finna stun on these niggas. I'm finna skirt. And I remember when Tilt called me and say, man, I got this restaurant for sale. Bankhead Seafood's been in business 50 years. I think it's a pretty good investment, even if we just get the property. And I was like, well, tilt car. She was like, well, nigga, you ain't getting that car. You know, because she's looking 20, 30 years down the line. I had been telling her, badgering her for a year, I'm tired of buying single family homes. I want apartments. And then when she came to me, she's like, well, here's a set. They're $250,000. And it's the only thing is going to be, we have to buy cash. It's not.
How many units?
Huh?
How many units?
I think we got 10 in that one. I was like, man, I don't want to spend that money, man. I went with her, spent the $250,000. We got an offer for $650,000. We ain't did nothing but get it up to code.
That's great.
You know? So it's like I married a woman who was like Proverbs 31, 10 through 31, who thinks about a longer distance to me. And you know what I mean? I'm an artist. I get frivolous. I mess up. I get into drugs and strippers and all that other dumb shit artists do. But I really married an anchor and a sense of stability, and I'm responsible to her. You know what I mean?
To Shay.
Well, next time you call me,
I want to ask you a question.
Next time you call me, I help you with one of them units, and then you could get the car, and then you can have the unit.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about.
Well, her credit good. We financed a few things out. But that building, the old black man who owned it was like, I just want cash. I'm not fucking with you niggas in these banks. So we like, all right, we showed up with the bag. Here you go, OG.
Done.
Did you feel like, did he want to sell to a black person?
Yeah, absolutely.
I do know people that are like, okay, that's how I got one of my houses in Detroit.
Yeah, we got in Savannah like that. We got
the woman was like, look, she was about to sell it to a white person, and then I came along that day. She was like, I'd rather sell the house to a black person.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know, people, I can see my people now, it's reversal racism. Like, no, it's not.
I can sell my house to who I want to.
It's nepotism, and it's nothing wrong with nepotism. It's nothing wrong with ensuring that someone who is connected to you or looks like you has a shot. Because for the culture, it's not just some cool shit to say. We're trying to keep a culture of people self-reliant so that we make a bigger investment to the larger community. So I don't really care how you feel, you know what I'm saying? Like I know that old black lady when we walked in that room who sold us a commercial building in Atlanta, in Savannah, when she seen my wife was black, you should see it in the tears just well in her eyes, because she knew what it took for her to get it, and she wanted to make sure someone who looked like her and was from her culture had an opportunity to do the similar thing. So I want to thank her. Thank you. Thank my wife, for not letting me fuck it up.
That's right, Shay.
I appreciate you, Shay.
I want to ask you about your queen, man, because as a black man that's married to a black woman.
A black man married to, unlike some of my critics.
I love that. I got to use that. What did you think of Nick Cannon's comments that white women are looked at as a success? You got those?
White women are looked at as success because in America, we see a white woman. I couldn't have you. My daddy couldn't have you. My granddaddy couldn't have you. I would get killed even looking at you. People, if they thought I whistled at you, they would murder me. So now, if I play for the NBA, I want them all. And I could afford them all. That's what they're thinking.
I think that's an old school mentality. We talk about changing narratives. I don't think that narrative is the same anymore. What do you think?
I think it's individual. Some cats is insecure, and you look at the way they move, it shows. You know what I mean? Some dudes still do feel like that. Right. You know what I mean? You can see it. You can see it. And then some dudes just like to wild out, and they like whatever they like, and that's fine too. My thing though is Dr. John Henrik Clarke talked about, I don't know, it was an African, I don't know if it was an African leader or a nation. I think it may have been even Gaddafi. I don't know who it was. But it was an African leader at some point that says, we're sending you out. No, it wasn't. It was a darker nation. It might have been Nigeria or something. But they said, we're sending our boy off to college. We're sending you to go to get knowledge to come back to make this community better. We're not sending you to go court a white woman and bring a white woman back. And that's hard to hear when everything should be fair and equitable, right? But if I was a Jewish parent who was married to the faith and the culture, and I said that to my child, even though my child might get angry, I wouldn't get frowned upon, because I'm only trying to keep my ethnicity and my culture alive. It's a 10,000-year-old religion. Like, I can't let you break that because you want to have fun. If I'm a Chinese parent and I say to my Chinese daughter, I want you to marry a Chinese boy, there's a culture attached to that, right? We somehow feel like a black parent saying that, because I got told, don't bring no white girl to my house. Now, straight up, don't bring, have your fun in the streets. Don't bring a white girl to my house. And not because my grandparents hated white people. Just culturally, they wanted us to stay attached. When you go to my wife's town, DJ Envy might not get looked at. Hell, me and you might not, because they want them black. They want a tall black Negro, tall. Like, they want somebody look straight out the fields. You know what I'm saying? But culturally, they the closest thing to Africa. When you start going to Hilton Head, them people been untouched for hundreds of years. Like, my wife started talking about her family. I don't even understand what she's saying.
What's going on, boy?
Yeah. So It's nothing wrong culturally with black people feeling the same way. Now, who you love is who you love, and and that's fine. But if you get Tiger Wooded, don't look for sympathy from me. I'ma laugh at your chump black ass. You know what I mean? Because you married a babysitter who looked like a soap opera star, and you cheated with a bunch of Hooters hoes. So, I don't have no affection for you when it go fucked up. I'm just saying I've seen, for me, when I look at Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, they husband get in trouble, them hoes gone. Nene stuck by grade.
I can't believe you watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Let me tell you something. I watch all the Real Housewives. Real Housewives of Panama. You know what I'm saying? Nene, hey man, for real. Like, man.
But you don't get like an Angela Yee, whose mom is black and her daddy Chinese.
I'm not saying you don't get that. I'm not saying that's not great for 90s videos. What I'm saying is Angela Yee just identified as black. She just purposely identified as black. She knows her children stand a better chance of getting shot on the Detroit streets. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's a different mentality from, we all should be treated fair. The world should. The world should be a lot of things. Mm-hmm. When you choose to identify as black as a biracial child, to me, you've chosen your side of the line. There's two kind of white people. It's white people that love me and want everything to be fair, and then there's John Brown. Mm-hmm. So which one are you? It's that simple. I don't think you don't like me or you hate me, but are you willing to be John Brown for me? So if culturally, her parents did something brave at a time where it might not have been brave. One of her parents had to make a conscious decision. I'm breaking from my culture. I'm choosing to identify with this person. To hell be damned, this is what it is. So if that's what your mate is doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, my DJ's a white man. His wife is a black woman, but he's a John Brown. He's going to go to line. He's going to toe the line. Shouts out to Amina, my little niece that was born. Like, he's going to toe the line. So you got to ask yourself, am I willing to toe that line if it come down to it? Mm-hmm. And who am I marrying, and what am I marrying this person? 50% of marriages end up in divorce. So what happens? When your child is out of your house, out of your culture, your child somewhere growing up with a bad haircut. Don't know what the fuck. Like, God bless. I want them all to grow up to be like my man Aubrey. I want them to grow up to be cool as hell like my nigga Drake. But sometimes that shit don't go right, and you be in Germany. I'm in Germany, and I ask a mixed brother, I say, hey, brother, who was black, your mother, father? How did you know? Nigga, because I'm looking at you. You know what I mean? When I'm in the Dominican Republic, my waiter, beautiful brother, man. Gay as all outdoors. Beautiful, handsome brother, man. Golden skin like my wife. Blondish, kind of sandy, dirty hair. You could tell they probably came on the same boat, him and her. And I say, so who was black? Oh, no, I ain't. I'm like, nigga, I'm looking at you. You black. And I know it's hurtful, and I know you don't get treated well, but brother, you black. And you know what I mean? So for me, brother, I take so much pride in it. I love it so much, and I married a black woman. That's right. Unlike some of my critics.
And for the record, 85% of all black men have a black wife, and 93% of black women have black husbands.
We so together, y'all. Don't listen to that bullshit. Walmart showing you the commercials. You know what I mean? Where everybody self a black man.
And I feel the same way. We was having this conversation yesterday. Like, it's not prejudice. I have a preference. I would love for my daughters to bring home a black man, especially because of the dismantling of the black family that has happened historically.
Oh, man.
But does it feel weird when you send your kids to school and there are barely any black kids?
Who told me? My kid go to public. My kid go to school with negros.
Well, no, I know Charlamagne and Envy, their kids are black, but they go to school around all white kids. And so kind of like, where are they meeting other black people?
Well, they meet other black people at home. They meet other black people amongst their friends, amongst our family. And like, it brings me great joy to see my 10-year-old doing her own research on Nelson Mandela, because we took her to Johannesburg and the Apartheid Museum. She just did a report on Nelson Mandela. She's doing her own research on Harriet Tubman. She got enough play aunties and real aunties to keep her
Because I remember for myself growing up, I went to public school, right, in Brooklyn, in Flatbush, until 6th grade. And then I went to private school in 7th grade. And my school is in the news right now because of how racist it is there. And I left in 9th grade because I was like, this is too racist. I can't take it anymore. There wasn't enough black people. And they didn't understand what it was. I was living in a black neighborhood, going to a school far away, at the end of Brooklyn, all white people, and then coming back home. And it was
minority to majority program.
It was very difficult for me just because of the way they would talk about black people. They would write things like N-words, go home, in the locker room. And
nigger. They didn't write N-word. They wrote nigger.
With the ER,
I like everybody to say that word, too, when you go home tonight by yourself. Like, because the Jefferson said it. And all the family, like, the word is nigger with the ER, not the A. Yeah, it's time, like, stop. Like, did anybody seen that clip with Nikki Giovanni?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys seen that. What did you know? Did you see the long one or just a short one?
Short one.
What she said?
It was the same one. It was the same one.
Yeah, she said you go to work. She said you go to work. You lie to that cracker.
Yeah.
Why you think she was so empowered to say that word? I know that made you a little nervous just now.
fine.
Why
Wait,
are
they're
they
used to it
empowered
here.
to say
I
that
say
word?
it all the time.
Huh?
I say it all the time in this room.
You know why they were empowered? Because they were self-reliant. They had their own communities. We weren't that far out of segregation, so the black community was still one that was a whole. They didn't have to goddamn go copy and apply to nobody. They didn't have to say N-word. The word is nigger. You called us a nigger at some point. We co-opted that word for the betterment of good, and we can say it, and you ain't gonna say no silly shit, the N-word. If my wife chooses to say bitch, that's her choice as a woman because she's endured what it takes. When Dick Gregory said it too many times around her, she said, you say that shit again, I'm gonna push your old ass down. And guess what he told her? He said, well, you ain't no bitch. She said, try me, nigga. He never said bitch around her again. You get what I'm saying? So, like, I mean, and that's not the
just hurts.
That's just
It
to
just
say.
hurts me to even.
I tell, man, I tell people all the time. You know, my wife's sister, God bless. Let me tell my sister-in-law, I'm sorry, sister-in-law, I love you. I was talking about us sending our children to suburban schools. And I think I offended my sister-in-law, but I love her. I'm so sorry for it. Brilliant little boy, go to a white school. You know, you get some of the riff sometimes. But what I like to tell black people is I honestly, in my heart of hearts, Angela, feel like in places that are hostile toward black people, you should not send your children to school with white children till they're 13 years old. Let the first, just though if you look at other ethnic communities, they keep themselves insulated till about the child 13, 14, you know. Then they have a ceremony and stuff, child gets out. I went to a school named the Collier Heights Elementary School. You guys Google the Collier Heights. It's a nationally recognized neighborhood that was black people gentrified this neighborhood from poor white people. Sent the poor white people on out to Cobb County and Mableton. They gentrified it. Everybody lived in this neighborhood from working class blacks like my grandparents to Dr. King's parents to former State Senator Billy McKinney. This school was a great school because rich black people lived in my neighborhood too. So I was able to afford a great education. I then went on to Frederick Douglass High School. Frederick Douglass was the greatest abolitionist of the 19th century, most photographed person of the 19th century. So essentially, I'm talking about the Barack Obama of his time. So I go to Frederick Douglass High School. Our rival is Benjamin E. Mays High School, former president of Morehouse College. We also have George Washington Carver High School, President King, and Martin Luther King also went to Booker T. Washington High School. So 70% of the schools in Atlanta named for black educators and emancipators. I don't care if I was a C student, I had a sense of pride that most black children didn't have because they were not in a circle of pride. The community was black. My teachers were black. They taught me some imaginary group of white kids I was competing with out there in the suburbs, and we had to do better, so they gave me purpose. So by the time I met white children, I was an equal.
Right.
You can't tell me my skin looked like poo.
Word up.
Why your skin look like bird poo? What you talking about, lame? You know what I mean? Like, I was already prepared. But what I wasn't was unconfident. And I'm just saying to areas where we hostile at.
That's a tough one, though.
No, that's not a tough
I'm
one.
going to tell you why.
Why?
Because, right, I'm from a place, Queens Village, where we had the first metal detectors on high school, right? So my parents made the option of not putting me in that high school, my zone school, which was Andrew Jackson, and put me in a school called St. Francis Prep, right? St. Francis Prep, I had to take 3-4 buses to get to school, but the education was way better than the education that was at Andrew Jackson. Not only was the education better, it gave me better opportunities by putting that school on my application. It gave me an advantage of most students, not just black students, white students, Asian students, all those students. So they gave me that opportunity coming from Queens Village, coming from Queens. So for my kids, who I have 5, who I go through a lot of it, I have my daughter in a private school who goes probably one of the top private schools in New Jersey, but she's already taking college courses on top of her what she does. It's no longer 30, 40 kids per class. It's 8 kids per class, and her education is like no other. My son is a little different because my son goes to a private school, but he's in the hood doing other things. He's playing football in Newark. He's playing basketball in Newark, so he gets that. But that education that he gets in those schools is unlike anything that I ever got in my life, which gives him that advantage.
Killer Mike?
That most kids don't get.
Do you care to retort?
He's looking something up.
Well, first I said, if you in an area where your children are being treated hostilely, you a rich nigga. You got white folks' money. So you are not going to endure the same the hostilities that a working class black parent is who's living in Sumter, who's living in Atlanta
All of my
or
kids been
Gwinnett.
called niggas. It's been hostile. It's been
I didn't say being called
It's been
niggas when your
hostile.
dad got a Ferrari just don't hurt as much.
It's been
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, very serious.
No, for them, I'm just a
No,
nigga in a
because me and you
Ferrari.
always getting a good
For them-
argument,
for
but
them, I'm
nigga,
a
you
nigga- I'm a
rich,
nigga in a
and you
Ferrari.
cannot take that away. And my question becomes this. With all the great education you got, You turned out to be a DJ and a real estate investor. You didn't have to go to college.
Not a DJ, an entrepreneur, brother.
I'm not dissing DJs.
Okay,
Nigga, I'm a part of hip hop.
I
I'm an MC. I'm just a rapper. I can call myself an entrepreneur too, and I am. Right? We both got millions of dollars of property. We both do cool shit. But we make our money singing and dancing. That's what we make our money doing. So your investment comes from your talent, what you were interested in, what you chose to pursue. Black people, your children are going to have pursuits. And I was looking for, and I'll find, before I came up here, I visited an academy that's owned by a former Ohio State player. This academy is all black children, bought a small church out in Lithonia, Georgia. All black kids learning, dominating, 100% college rate. So what I was getting to on a grander level is, if you can't send your children to Woodward, if you can't send your children to St. wherever, I'm going to send my youngest daughter, hopefully to Paideia, just so she gets some inclusion, because she's a little too black for me. She's a little Chuck D's. You know, she scare me sometimes. I'm saying to put confident children in the world. See, because we always love that cop out of, hey, man, you know, we sent my children there for a better education, but the same niggas be telling me how much they paid for college. Your children ain't rewarding that by scholarshiping. After you do them years, you're not directing your children to Howard, not you. You're not directing your children to Howard or Morehouse or Spelman or Bethune-Cookman or Tuskegee University. Then you doing some further chump shit. You done tell them for 5-6 years, you done been called a nigga. You done got a twisted word. Oh, it's a great education. The education don't even teach you as Egypt is in Africa. Don't teach you to be proud of nothing about yourself. It just teaches you how to take tests well and how to participate and coordinate according to the system and the way they teach you. And you never thought, God damn, I could start my own Montessori school, where it's 8 kids in the whole school. And I'm not saying this because I heard this shit in some goddamn chump-ass rhyme from a chump-ass rapper. I own a third of a block
Kanye.
in Atlanta.
And
the second block next to me was bought by 5 white people who didn't even know each other. And they started a Montessori school within 3 months. Nigga, do something. I used to wonder to myself, man, why is Dick Gregory so mad? Because he cussed me and Tip out the first time we met him. He said, man, what y'all niggas gonna do? March, the same shit we've been doing 50 years? Nigga, they gonna tell you to march, you got to be off the streets by 7 o'clock. If you ain't out, they gonna keep, the schools seem better because you buying into that. Why are we not starting our own academies and supporting them? Why are we not supporting historically black colleges and universities? That's where our heroes went. That's where they came from. Dr. King went to Booker T. Washington. You gonna show me a nigga smarter than him? You understand what I'm saying? I don't have no problems with you loving your children. But my children go to public school because I pay taxes in public schools, and they named for black people. And either you're going to choose to be excellent and you're going to do better, or you're going to sit your chump ass down and you're going to keep me in the same shit over and over, but you can't complain and say that greatness wasn't given to you. If you walk in a school named for Frederick Douglass High School and you do not have the initiative as a parent or the student to walk up and step up to that greatness, but you would do it at St. Pius? You would do it at St. Michael? Man, you a chump.
That's why.
I'm not talking about you.
See, so you can sit here and say the chump shit all day long.
I'm not
right?
talking about you. I'm telling you, light skin, I'm getting your feelings, but I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about working class people. I'm talking again about working class people.
Those public school teachers are not getting paid, are overworked, and some of them are not putting the effort out because some of them are the worst teachers in the country.
I don't agree. I'm here to defend teachers. You are full of shit.
I gotta disagree with that too. My mom is a public school teacher.
You full of shit. You full of shit. You full of shit.
My mom been a public school teacher for 30 years.
Some DJs whack. You not one of them. Nah, get out of here. That's wrong. That's to throw teachers under the bus is wrong. You are wrong.
Yeah, you can't throw public school teachers.
You are wrong.
You're not gonna put words in my mouth. I said some public school teachers are there and they don't give it all, and some of them don't have the tools that the same schools that other schools have. Don't put words in my mouth. I don't put words in yours. And that's what I'm saying. Hold on. So when it comes to, no, I'm not mad. I let you speak. I let you give your spiel.
Me and Envy always had these arguments.
When I give my spiel, oh, he's mad. No, I'm just speaking the facts. I've been to public school. I've been to certain states. But for me, learning to do certain things is learning way different. My kids go to private school, right? My son has his own business, has started his own thing, things that he learned that I didn't learn before. You know why? Because those opportunities were given to him. My daughter has been to places most people haven't been ever.
I think they learned a lot of that from you, though.
Because
they learned more of that from you than they could have.
It's not only me, but they have
everybody get rich, send your children to private school. It's gonna all work out.
Classes where they learn real estate in her school. I didn't never learn real estate.
You know what she gets the example from her father, but she get it from her father.
But they teach it in school.
Envy, I'm not saying they don't.
Yes, I push my kids, but they teach it
speaking
in school.
for the working class African American, that child is in an environment that is hostile to them.
And that's why I said that in my own
That's
example.
what I was speaking to.
That was my own example.
So what I'm speaking to again, because if you rich, you insulated. Speaking to the working class African American, if you are unsatisfied with your school system, radically change it by voting in a new board, put in for new systems to be constructed, or support charter schools. Oh, and then we all get nervous. Oh, charter schools, that's Republican. But pull your children out and start a best academy like in Atlanta.
Or Diddy has his charter school in Harlem.
LeBron.
Shout out to Diddy and Steve Perry.
That's all I'm saying.
Jalen Rose has his
we
charter
got to
school.
stop giving these
Jalen,
excuses
Diddy.
to leave each other. We do the same.
It's
You
not
make money because people left the hood.
It's legit. My
It's
father
not
made
legit.
$50,000. How the fuck was he going to start a charter school?
Bruh.
He did what he could. He took me out of fucking Andrew Jackson. My father took me out
Nigga,
of
I
Andrew
ain't going to
Jackson.
get your father.
We talking about each other.
Yeah, I'm with
talking
your
about
dad.
each other.
Oh, no, that's
I'm
what I'm
with your father.
but
I'm not
trying-
talking about for you. What I'm saying is, in spite of all the education you got, your dream and your pursuit and your belief in the kid that you met when you told the story about meeting Clue, that's what brought you here. What brought you here is your own self-invention, your own curiosity, your own mind. And in school, that's what it should be. I'm not sending my youngest daughter potentially to Padea because it's a white school. I'm sending her because they actually go outside. They have class outside. And they think art is important as science. You get what I'm saying? Now, if that's the argument you're saying to me, that's fine. But if you're going to simply tell me there's a great business curriculum there, I'm going to retort to say at George Washington Carver High School in Atlanta, they have a dry cleaning program. They have a T-shirt printing program. They have auto mechanics. I learned aviation. I learned how to fly and aviation mechanics at George High School. So my question just becomes, what are we allowing public schools to be, now that we've had our mandatory light-skinned, dark-skinned argument? What are we going, because you still pay taxes publicly, what are we going to do to ensure the children of the working class get what our children have? The confidence that they need to be successful.
See,
And that ain't taught in school.
And see, this is the thing.
If you got the right kind of teachers.
Yeah, if you got the right kind of teachers, but most of that pride and that confidence is instilled at home.
See what you said, and what I'm trying to explain is what you said is they teach aviation, they teach mechanics, they teach nursing, and they teach great jobs, right? But in these other schools, they teach you how to be billionaires. And there's a big difference, and there's a big line. And yes,
how many of those kids are going to go on to
become millionaires and billionaires? A lot of them. A lot of them are turning
What's
to be
a lot?
billionaires.
Give me a solid number.
I don't know percentages.
Because most people are not going. Let me tell most people something. Out there in the real world with the fantasy that they're ever going to get to where this much gold, and that most people are not going to be millionaires.
They're learning how to be.
Oh, y'all can't talk over each other.
Most people. Yeah, that's you being rude to a guest, Envy. Most people are not going to be millionaires. Most people want to seek a comfortable life, live below debt, and leave a piece of land for their family.
That's not true.
That's what most people are going to do.
Most people think they can't.
That's what most people are doing.
Most people think they can't. That's why they don't want.
I didn't say why they don't. I said what most people are going to do. I didn't say what most people can't.
Most people, no, you said
I said what they're going to do.
Want to own a piece. No, most people want to be millionaires.
No, they don't.
Just feel
Envy.
they
Most
can't.
people don't want to be. The
kidding
people
me?
we
Yes.
know.
Most people want to be filthy. They just feel they can't.
Envy, I'm from a family in the country. Most of my family would tell me, man, I just want to be comfortable. I don't have to have you ever heard that in your country?
All day long.
Yeah, I just want to be comfortable. I want to be without debt, without stress. So what I'm saying is if most Americans want to be millionaires, it's be such a more vicious country. We be undercutting each other, cutting each other's throat.
Most people do.
And I'm going to tell people something, man. It's value in a job. There's a nobility in being a nurse and being a doctor. There's a nobility in being a police officer,
absolutely,
a fireman. There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all.
So what I'm saying is most schools are going to teach you to take a test. I'm just simply saying maybe public schools should be more reflective of the private schools that rich people like Envy and others send their children to. And maybe we should incorporate some working class things that mirror those things, because if all these millionaires are going to private school, somebody's going to have to work for them, and I want to demand a greater salary. And if you're going to do that, you're going to have some trades and skills, not unskilled labor. You're going to need good soft skills, how to show up on time, how to say yes, sir, no, ma'am. So somebody's got to work for all these millionaires. Somebody's got to work for boss.
You know why I do the real estate seminars? Because I look at all these seminars and they charge our people $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 for these seminars. Mm-hmm. I do these seminars to teach our community how to invest and how to make it so they can have wealth and pass on to their children and children and children. That's why I do those seminars.
Who calls you and says?
I don't need the money.
Who calls you and says that's a dope
I don't
chick?
need the money. But the reason I do it is because
But
I
who
hate.
calls you and says that's
You
the
do,
dope?
but I hate going downtown to these auction houses and see nobody looking like me. That bothers the shit out of me.
I agree with you.
Because they buy up our community. The reason I do these seminars and I rent these places out and I get these school buses and I pay for parking and I pay for food and I pay for drinks and all that shit is to teach our community how to fucking do it.
And so after our community,
that's
why
I do it.
does it, what happens?
10% of the people I have in those classes try. 5% of the people actually buy. But I don't care even if I get one.
No,
it
matters.
tells people to get how to do it, and most people are not doing it. But the reason, the way I was taught was from my schooling. For me going to Hampton University and learning business and learning marketing was my schooling.
That's the school?
That's the school. So
all beautiful black
kids.
kids. None.
All them kids going to college. All them these.
What school is that?
She's already accepted for neuroscience.
Okay.
She wants to be she knew who Ben was, who ran HUD, so I knew she was serious. She already has a business. This sister's Jamaican right here. She's already talking about working in something that's non-college related. This young brother's already on baseball scholarship. Like, these are all black children. Mm-hmm. See, I'm never saying that you loving your children, if you can afford to, sending your children to private school like something. But we must stop the mentality that is better than what you already have.
I feel what you're saying.
What you have is enough. What you have, if you have genuine curiosity and the encouragement to do better, it's enough. I had an encyclopedia. I went to public schools, and I scholarshiped in the Morehouse. And to some of y'all chumps, that might not mean anything. But when you start to look up the historic value of the university I went to, you start to understand for a poor child who grew up 4 miles away from that college, it was nearly impossible. My pediatrician came to Morehouse with a bag. Dr. Otis Smith, one of the first millionaires I ever met, man told me I'm a millionaire, blew my mind. Was an investor in real estate developments and stuff when I was young. Man came to Morehouse in a bag. He said my parents couldn't afford to buy me luggage, but they knew if I made it into that university, I was going to somehow make it out. He didn't sweat going to Yale or Harvard. He didn't run down to Auburn, Alabama. He went to Morehouse. And I'm just simply saying, black people, pride is more than February, saying I like being black. Pride is an actionable thing that I must and will do. If I believe in myself and believe in this shit I'm saying, at some point I have to make a conscious decision to show it. My Indian friends get fucked up, hang out with me, do all kind of wild shit, and all of a sudden I see him at one of them cousins' wedding, and I don't even recognize that nigga. Because he's standing in line for his culture. And all I'm saying to black people is you have a culture to be proud of. And Queens, New York might not support that culture in the same way Atlanta, Georgia does. But in Atlanta, Georgia, you have a potential to be Wakanda. Your private school options are different there. You can go to a Brown private school, but stop thinking what you produce isn't good enough. This is the same thing any other cola is.
You just gonna let them shit on Queens like that?
No, I love Queens. Best rappers ever in the world. Hold on, stop. Let me
Don't do that. Don't do that, Charlotte. Don't do that.
Queens has produced
can't play
more
right now.
MCs than any other borough.
I'm gonna let him finish.
And two of the greatest DJs.
I'm gonna let him finish.
But this is not personally at you. This is for black people that are in Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, North Florida. You know what? Most black people live in this country.
Yeah.
The Southeast. Who you are is good enough to become who we're supposed to become. But you got to have that faith and belief in yourself. If you choose to be a teacher, your life mission has to become educating black children to matriculate them through trade schools or through college to be better for our community. As a black person, your individual responsibility is what Clue's telling you. It's what Envy is telling you. And that's in financially taking care of yourself and your family and making sure they have the best chance at having wealth early. That's it. And for the greater community, it's our job to cooperate so that we participate in the greater community. But if you don't have no self-pride, you just gonna, you're gonna be one who made.
And for the record, Envy and Killer Mike are not arguing. They are intensely engaging and sharing ideas. That's
Absolutely,
all.
and I love that.
That's
I
all.
love
Fine.
it.
After this.
How do we turn into an episode of Trigger Warning?
But see, the only.
I want that nigga on that bag.
I just want to, and since I brought the whole school thing up, I just want to say the reason I was saying that was because I did say to myself, I begged my parents to take me out of private school. That's all I was saying, and I did get to leave in 9th grade because I couldn't take it, but they did send me back my senior year just because I was messing up. Yeah. But so
doing
it was
ratchet shit with your hood rat friend.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
But it was just difficult for me, like being around, coming from an environment where all I knew, I didn't even know any white people except a couple of my teachers until I went to private school. And then I went to private school, and it was a hostile environment for me, so I did end up leaving and coming back. And so I understand the point of it was where I was from in my neighborhood. It's not like we had money. Like, no one was coming to my house in Flatbush from my school. none of those white kids were allowed to come there, you know? So that's just what it was for me. So I got out of there, you know, went to public school, shout out to Columbia High School, and then ended up going back.
See, the whole goal and what I'm trying to say is we have to do more than just your normal stuff. And that's why I do the seminar stuff, and that's why I try to teach these kids about, and that's why I push so much my cars, my jewelry, and everything, because, see, what most kids see, and even what I seen as a kid was, you see the local drug dealers, and you think you want to be them. And what I try to teach these kids is, and try to show these kids is, you can have just as much as that drug dealer or more.
And more.
You don't have to rap. You don't have to play basketball. You don't have to sell drugs. There's so many different things that you can do. And that's why I really try. That's why even when you said DJ and I said entrepreneurs, because I want these kids to know that you ain't got to do music, but you can still have a love for music. You know, you can sell soda. You know, you can sell, you know, T-shirts. You can sell whatever you want. Shit, make up your own thing.
But you becoming a top DJ is not an insult to nobody.
No, I'm not saying.
That's your gift.
I'm just saying. I'm just not only
And your gift
a DJ.
brought you in the
That's what I was
entrepreneur.
saying.
He said DJ in the business. But also, even owning the juice bar that we have in Bed-Stuy.
Oh, yeah, props to that.
You know,
Love.
in Brooklyn, you know what? When we first opened and we had our grand opening, the next day I was there and this kid comes up to me outside. He was like a teenager and he said, I just want to tell you that you guys having this here made me realize I can open a business.
Let me
one
do
day,
this.
and that's such a big deal. When
And we
people
helped
see you,
two people open up juice
I
bars
love
that have
y'all
nothing to do with us.
for y'all entrepreneurship. I love you for your writing and your reporting. Please don't ever stop. But I got to give shouts out to Slutty Vegan in Atlanta. She took it from a food truck to a restaurant.
We bringing her up here.
Local Green,
Yeah.
owned by Big Zach, you know, former writer with Jazzy Faye.
Shout out to Drama.
And the Swag Shop, which I'm
Drama?
the co-owner of with my wife. First
Yes.
barbershop in the arena.
Drama
So-
got one too, right? Drama got a juice bar.
Yeah, Drum
DJ
has a
Drama,
juice,
shout out to
Drum,
Drama.
light skin holding you down.
What up, Drum?
And my daddy light skin. I talk all this drip. My daddy looked like DJ Envy. Like I would just tell y'all, so y'all see me in the street.
Like an older
Don't laugh
version
at
of
me
DJ
for real.
Envy.
Big Mike, what's up, Big Mike? But I love us. You know what I mean? And I love what you guys bring to the culture. But what Envy was saying was right. Now I'm gonna tell you, I own real estate because of a drug deal. There was a guy named Fat Steve who lived in the Rive. So my front door was Adamsville. My back door was Bankhead. I went out my front door more, so I ran Adamsville. Bankhead was Charlotte Low, and the project he was from is called Bourne Homes. It's like T.I. side, Bankhead side. Fat Steve allowed my cousin to cut in his shop, and I could go to his shop and not get jumped on. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't supposed to be over in the project. But Steve always wore like a pressed polo, creased Guess jeans, Rolex. He would maybe pull up in a Benz one day and a tow truck the next day. But I saw him accumulate 30, 40 rooming houses. I saw him open up barbers. I saw him, and a lot of times we think children are stupid, and we see children admiring gold and glitter, and we think, oh, you're just in love with the drug dealer, the image. No, they're watching a business person. Kids ain't crazy. They're watching somebody participate in capitalism, and that needs to be encouraged and not discouraged, but from a different way. My art teacher who hit me this morning about, hey, buy some overalls when you get back. We finna get back to growing stuff because I'm trying to relearn how to grow stuff. He was my entrepreneurial teacher in school. He taught art. His name was William Murray. He's co-owner of Murray Brothers Funeral Home. He owns land over there by the Dome, has been making money for years, parking, that type of stuff. But he taught us very young, freedom. You know, if you want to be free, and it's in public school. It's a black public school, black man. He teaching art. But he taught us that freedom comes with economic freedom. You know what I mean? Frederick Douglass started a bank. Frederick Douglass didn't just want you to run off and be free to work. So I applaud that. I'm with that. I just want us to be confident as children. I want us to be in control of our economic fate as individuals and as a collective. And at a certain point, the same people who lead us by wearing jewelry and saying, you know, I'm wearing this so kids see it's not just a drug dealer. The drug dealer ain't just to be looked at, because Harlem wouldn't be Harlem without the numbers man. Without the liquor man and the shine man, we wouldn't have had communities like we have in the South. You wouldn't have had people able to give loans. You know what I mean? So I don't even want to keep looking at our criminals bad. Everybody sold drugs. Let me tell you something. Your mama sold dope. Your daddy, they did coke. If they did, everybody in the 80s did something. So it's time to get past the narrative that even that's not a proper example. Whatever has motivated you to be successful in a legal way has been a good thing for you.
Absolutely.
Having Fat Steve in my life was one of the best things I could have had in my life because it validated that I could do something positive as a big black boy with a big cheesy smile. I didn't have to work around running no ball, have no coach call me wobble dobble. You know what I'm saying? I knew I could use my mind. And Envy is saying the exact same thing. We're saying the same thing.
Right.
We just, he took it a little personal. I shit on private school, but I love private school. My daughter be there next year. But I love Envy. I want you to know that I love you. I love you.
Y'all
like I
are saying
love
the
my
exact same thing.
Right.
You just from a beige perspective, he from a dark skin perspective.
Straight
Y'all
up.
saying the exact
but you
same
know what?
thing.
That argument is too long, and I got to catch a flight
Yeah,
soon.
I do want to say one thing, and this is what I want to do.
But I love you.
I love you back.
My G.
But-
and this is the thing that we got to teach these kids, and I know you got to go, Lee. Yeah. I told my son, I want you to be whatever you want to be, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be a garbage man, that's fine.
Sanitation worker.
I said, but we're going to do it differently. We're going to see how we're going to own 3 trucks
I
and
agree
you
with you.
own a company. And that's what I want to teach our kids. That's what I want to teach our minorities. Think outside of that
Proudest
box.
moment of my last 2 months, Pony Boy, my 16-year-old. He used to want to play football. He was a good football player. Some health stuff caused him not to be able to play. I said, man, so what you want to do? All right. What you want to do? Because it's college a year or 2 away. And he says, he got like a raspy voice. He said, honestly, man, I don't want to go to college. I think college for Michael. That's his younger sister. He said, me, I want to get right into figuring out a trade, building, something. He said, because I see what you and my Montu are doing with real estate.
Right.
And honestly, man, I just want to get rich.
Right.
Fast as I possibly. And I felt so good because at his age, I was selling cocaine. At my child's age, I was selling cocaine. You know what I mean? And and that's dramatic and it sounds good on rap records, but that's no place for a child to be. You know what I mean? By 12, 13 years old, I had already figured out getting on the bus, going to a neighborhood, trapping off, getting back home. I don't want that for our children. And the only way that happens is if we start to be raising confident children, right? Who not insecure because they don't have a Nikes. You know what I'm saying? If we start raising the children that have the perspective to understand, I can get a lawnmower and cut grass all summer, or I can shovel snow and I can start to accumulate wealth. You know what I mean? But what we can't keep doing is discouraging our children from things that we don't think are right. Like I want my kids to go to college. I wanted one of my boys to go to Morehouse. They chose not to. I got to accept that. But I don't want my boys to be beggars. You know, one of the proudest moments I had was when my father told me, you've only had to ask me to borrow money once, and you paid me back the next week. He said, I knew then you wasn't no chump. You didn't want no man holding nothing over you.
Owe me nothing.
So for me, simply my thing is to tell black people, be confident. If you dream it, I saw 4 brothers who the world don't think much of, in Noonie, Yayo, Murdo, and AC. I seen them put this together.
And I think they enjoyed it too.
They really did, but it was heartbreaking to get told, no, we couldn't get along.
Right, but that's part of life,
Oh,
and you figure it out.
And I mean, you can't go into a bank and tell them that you're a drug dealer and expect them to give you a loan.
We tried. No, we tried.
But
that man hit me to this day like, boy. I say, hey, we ahead of the curve, man.
I want to ask you about the last episode because I thought that was very interesting.
You gotta go, nigga.
I got you right quick. Don't stop hating on the dog skin side.
I don't want to give it away.
I ain't hating on you.
But why did you do what you did in the last episode?
What I should have did was concede publicly. Maybe somebody suggested that to me. And I said, I did what I did because, first of all, the whole world has become a reality show of sorts. So the people that were there, by the time they were there, they've bought in. You know what I'm saying? And what you see interesting to me is the person that fights against tyranny outside of those gates, Sir Major, became an upholder of my rules and law to the point he began to look tyrannical, to people. Mario, who had become an aggravation to many, right? Mario ended up being a true patriot in that he wouldn't stay in step. He asserted his individuality all the way through. So it was amazing to me to see leadership and how it works around celebrity and influence. I was not the best qualified leader.
Even though you had the best ideas, was the most intelligent, you didn't feel like you were the most qualified leader.
But the sister was willing to do the work. She understood my ideas and principles. She could get my ideas and principles actually into process because she was right there next to people. And she was the most diverse in terms of background, in terms of connectivity with other people. The sister was better qualified to lead. And I think that right now, in this political environment, we should be looking to that. Who are the reluctant leaders? Like in the book Tribes. Shouts out to Hannah Kane for putting this up a tweet. A kid.
Salute to Hannah.
A kid pushed through a crowd. He pushed through a crowd of people 3 years ago to hand me a book. Like he was handing me a Noah's Covenant or something. I'm like, what is this kid? He says, you are a leader. and you have to read this book. And that's just like got out of my face. 3 years removed from that, now the whole world's like, oh, you're a genius. You're a leader. This kid saw something and had that confidence in me 3 years ago.
What was the book?
It was called Tribes.
Okay, Tribes.
You know, and it talks about reluctant leadership and the people who should be leading that aren't. Like, Envy, you are a leader. I look at you like a leader. I laugh and argue. We joke and play like the barbershop. But I really, like, I call you out of nowhere. Like, man, you are a leader. You know what I mean? You are going to provide example for 9, 10, 20, 100 people. You are a leader. You are a leader. And we all must do that. And we need to start searching for people. You know what I mean? People already asking me about who's who on what campaign and what. I said, I like Nina Turner.
I love Nina Turner.
I like Nina Turner when it is an election, when it ain't an election, when it's finna be an election, when the election just finished. You know why? Because she is consistent in her leadership.
Talked to her yesterday.
She is consistent in her leadership. She gonna lead if she lead a PTA meeting.
Yep.
She gonna lead if she leading kids to the bus stop. But what's most important about her is when she's not prepared or if she doesn't have what it takes to lead in that situation, she defers leadership to those who can. Oh, man, ain't that amazing?
So that's what you did.
That's all I did.
Right.
Deferred the leadership to the person who should. That episode was brilliant and tragic to me because it shows us that we are in a reality TV culture. We are in a culture where people are going to continue to pick celebrity and influence and fame over what is real and substantive. And I think that we have a choice not to do that.
Well, Killer Mike,
I love you.
I love you, my brother.
And I just want to say this, though, before we leave.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, you're going to tell him you love
Killer
him.
Mike just motivated me, and I just want to say.
He don't never want to tell me he love him.
No, I'm doing a seminar in Atlantic City, and I want 25 students to come. I'll pay for you. I'll pay for anything that you need to go to Atlantic City.
There you
I'll
go.
pay for it. You just got to have some good grades.
Public school students.
Oh, no. That chump shit.
CBA. That shows me that they doing good, that they working. CBA.
I work with you on
I ain't say no A+.
Okay, I work with you.
CBA. You got to show me that they going to school.
Niggas go light skin a lot of different ways on y'all. Niggas, I'm gonna tell you, when niggas talk about credit, niggas talk about good grades, and niggas talking about 2-parent household, niggas talking that light skin shit.
I feel you on that.
Them
'cause I
D
didn't go
kids
to
might
college.
need it.
I try to do something nice. I said,
I
Them
feel
D
you.
kids might need that,
but
Envy.
kids,
if they going to school,
that's right.
I got them. 25 kids, I'll pay
Yes,
for it.
because
C students included.
C students.
And C
included.
students.
Because I graduated from night school.
I was a C student, so
I didn't go to college.
I love you,
And
brother.
they gave me an opportunity when I was 18
You
at
were
a
like
radio
Kevin Hart.
station.
I'm not paying for you to go, though. But
I'm just saying. Like,
25, just email breakfastclubam@gmail.com. The first 25 people, I will pay for you to go to the seminar because I want you guys to learn.
I sincerely love and respect you.
Love you, Killer Mike.
All right, love you.
We'll
Killer
argue
Mike,
later.
I love you, my brother. Thank you. Finally, for the
I'ma come by the
we got
barbershop
Envy's
when I
first
get to
beige
Atlanta.
rage of the year. Nick, you know to add the beige rage.
It took me to bring it out. It took
Okay,
me.
all right.
We got to do a whole compilation of these scenes of Envy getting passionate. I could think of 6 instances off the top of my head.
It is the Breakfast Club and Killer Mike. Thank you, Killer Mike.
I love you. Peace.